She stood barefoot on the mat, her white belt worn and uneven, like it had seen more years than anyone in the room dared guess. No name tag, no fancy gear, just stillness. The teenage black belt smirked, and the room chuckled, parents, students, even the coaches. But Emma didn't flinch. She bowed, and bowed again. They thought it was obedience. It wasn't, not even close. The mat was warm beneath her bare feet, the overhead lights casting a soft glare across the polished floor of Heritage Martial Arts Academy in Centennial, Colorado. Everything gleamed here: glass trophy cases, mirror-lined walls, gold-trimmed motivational quotes in faux calligraphy. But the woman standing in the center looked entirely out of place. Her GI was plain, boxy, slightly faded at the shoulders. No sleek piping, no academy crest stitched into the chest. Just clean cotton. Her belt was white, frayed at the ends, tied tightly but uneven, like it had been through more than a few years of practice. Maybe too many. Across from her, Tyler Whitman, a teenage black belt with a wireless mic clipped to his collar and a self-assured smirk, raised his hand like he was about to introduce a circus act. "Everyone," he announced, voice booming, "let's take a moment to watch how a beginner shows proper respect. Miss, step forward and bow." She did, calmly, low, held the posture. The parents lining the benches smiled politely, some chuckling, others whispering behind phone screens. One woman nudged her friend and tapped out a message mid-laugh. "Again," Tyler said, nodding like a director. She bowed a second time. Then a third. Behind him, a line of junior black belts grinned like it was part of the script. One whispered, "She probably trained in the Stone Age." Another raised their phone, the soft chime of a screen recording echoing off the walls. She never said a word. Her eyes stayed lowered, not in shame but in something quieter, something steadier. The air in the room changed. But no one noticed, not yet. An investor near the back leaned toward his colleague. "Looks like someone wandered in from the local rec center." Tyler clapped once, drawing laughs. "Okay, one more bow. Make it good this time." And she did, the deepest yet. The room quieted, just for a second. No one knew who she was. But she did. And that stillness? That wasn't submission. It was the beginning. She returned to her spot on the side mat like she had 100 times before, quiet, steady, ignored. The demonstration moved on without her, as if she hadn't just been paraded like a prop. No one offered a hand. No one met her eyes. At Heritage Martial Arts Academy, image was everything. The main floor gleamed with black laminate, polished every morning with lemon-scented cleaner. Trophy cases, backlit and pristine, showcased gold medals and championship belts, each one tagged with the name of a donor's child. The walls were lined with oversized portraits, smiling faces frozen mid-kick, framed in brushed steel. And then there was Emma. Her gear bag was canvas. No logo, torn zipper. Her GI, folded straight across her shoulders, was old school, boxy. No stretch fabric. It didn't hug her body the way the sleek uniforms did on the younger students. There was no name tag, no academy crest, just discipline. She unrolled her section of the mat in silence. No one acknowledged her, and if they did look, it was through her, not at her. During warm-ups, the circle conveniently tightened without her. When drills began, she stood awkwardly on the side, an odd number. Assistant coach Brittany barely glanced her way. When she finally addressed Emma, it was to make an example. "That's too low," she said with a forced smile. "Watch your centerline. If you're gonna stay, follow our rhythm." Giggles trickled from the girls by the mirror wall. One of them angled her phone low, recording Emma as she retied her belt. Slower, more deliberate. They didn't know who they were mocking. Emma Callahan had trained on Olympic mats by the time she was 17. She had earned her black belt before most of these students could write their names. Years ago, she'd been known on the national circuit for a combination sequence so precise. It had once landed her a spot on the U.S. team, until an injury in Denver cost her the dream. But she had never stopped training, never stopped listening, never stopped watching. And in this fancy, mirror-clad dojo that had forgotten what martial arts was really about, she was a ghost, a veteran wrapped in humility. Invisible, for now, but not for long, because hidden within every deliberate breath, Every quiet step was a level of control none of them could see. Yet, if you're still with me, if you're starting to feel what's coming, comment the number 1 below. Let me know you're listening. Because this story, it's only just beginning. Evening came, and with it, a new kind of tension. The lights in the Heritage Martial Arts Academy were brighter than usual, reflecting off the high-gloss floors like a stage set. Folding chairs lined the outer walls, reserved for sponsors, private school scouts, and local figures with last names that carried weight. Bottled water sat neatly on every seat. Banners bearing the Academy's new motto, "Discipline First, Victory Follows," hung in perfect symmetry. The air smelled like polish and pressure. Emma stepped onto the mat quietly, feet sore from a full day of drills and stillness. She bowed once, low, precise, and took her place among the row of so-called beginners. No one acknowledged her, again, but tonight was different. Tyler Whitman, black belt, showman, and the Academy's golden boy, stood confidently at center mat. His wireless mic blinked red as he grinned toward the audience. "Let's start with etiquette," he declared, voice echoing. "Respect is the foundation of martial arts." He turned, scanning the line like a casting director. Then, inevitably, his finger landed on Emma. "Step forward, please." Without hesitation, she did. "Excellent," he smiled. Again, deeper this time. She bowed, no change in her expression. Just stillness. "Hold it," he added. She held. The audience smiled politely, assuming this was just another part of the program. A few pulled out phones. Again, she bowed once more. By the 5th time, the motion had lost all meaning. This wasn't instruction. This was a performance. She was the prop. Someone in the front row chuckled. Someone else snapped a picture. But Emma didn't falter. Her eyes stayed low, her breath steady. She wasn't playing along. She was letting them speak their part. And when it was over, she stepped back into line as if nothing had happened. No resistance. No defiance. Only presence. Drills began. Students split into pairs for advanced striking exercises. But once again, no one chose Emma. She stood quietly until Coach Brittany tossed a pair of handpads at her feet. "Hold for Jason," she said, not unkindly, but not warmly either. Jason was quick. His kicks were fast and heavy, but sloppy. The pads grew damp with sweat. Her forearms ached. Still, she didn't flinch. Across the room, Tyler shouted corrections, not at Jason, but at her. "Raise it higher. Be steady. You're making him work too hard." Emma didn't answer. She simply adjusted. During sparring rounds, she was left out again. Brittany tossed her a towel. "Help out if you can't keep up." So she did. She wiped down the floor where another student had slipped, folded the towel neatly, and placed it near the podium, out of the way, but never out of mind. Behind her, the etiquette chart reflected across the mirrors. Discipline, focus, honor, and there she stood, unclapped, unnamed, unseen. But if anyone had truly looked at her, really looked, they would have noticed something else. She wasn't holding pads. She was holding back. And what she held inside was far greater than any kick flying across that mat. The stage was set. They just didn't know it yet. It happened fast, too fast for anyone to stop it. The sparring demo was meant to impress. Tyler stood center mat once more, now with full performance mode engaged. "We'll demonstrate advanced sparring dynamics, timing, precision, partner awareness," he announced with theatrical flair. Parents leaned forward in their seats. A scout from Hillcrest Prep crossed his legs, tablet in hand. 2 investors whispered something about recruiting bonuses. Emma sat in the overflow row at the back, just behind the last folding chair. No spotlight, no fanfare, same worn canvas bag, same faded GI. She didn't lean forward or adjust her posture. She just watched. Tyler called up 2 students, Jason, the same aggressive teen she'd held pads for earlier, and a smaller boy named Milo, barely in middle school. Their belts contrasted. Jason's was black with a red stripe. Milo's green with a single white tip. "Ready, go." Jason struck fast, pushing the pace. Milo flinched, missing his timing. Again, Tyler barked. Milo hesitated. Jason moved quicker, flashier. On the next exchange, he faked low, then spun, His kick came high and fast, too fast. Crack. The impact sounded like a palm slapping wet wood. The room gasped as Milo stumbled backward, clutching his side, and collapsed. His belt slipped loose. His hands scrambled against the mat, but he didn't get up. For a moment, silence gripped the room. No music, no speeches, no clapping, just stillness. Tyler froze, unsure. Coach Brittany started forward, then stopped, looking toward the senior instructor. No one moved, except her. Emma stood. No announcement, no command, just motion, calm, deliberate. She stepped onto the mat, her bare feet silent against the floor, cutting through tension like a blade through silk. No one dared stop her. She knelt beside Milo gently, like she'd done it 100 times. Her voice was soft but clear. "Where?" The boy pointed, tears brimming. She touched the area gently, checked his breath, adjusted his posture. Then she reached for his belt, laid it neatly in his lap, and helped him sit up, her hand steady at his back. Then, she stood, and walked to the center of the mat. No cue, no invitation. She took position exactly where the last exchange happened. No words, just breath. Then, movement. She performed the same combination. The same one Jason had rushed through. But hers was slow, deliberate, impossibly clean. Her stance glided from one beat to the next like choreography set to an invisible rhythm. Each motion landed with clarity, purpose, control. She ended with a final step. Low, strong, balanced an inch above the floor. She held one breath, then released. The room was frozen. Phones hung midair, unmoving, eyes wide, not in confusion, in realization. In that silence, no one asked who she was. They understood she wasn't just a woman in a white belt. She was a master hiding in plain sight. And the dojo had just felt it, for the very first time. No one moved. Emma stepped back from the center of the mat and returned to her seat in the back row like nothing had happened. She didn't look around for approval. Didn't wait for applause. She just sat, hands resting on her knees, eyes lowered. But the silence that followed, it wasn't confusion anymore. It was respect. Reluctant, unspoken, but real. Then a voice broke the stillness, clear, calm, and impossible to ignore. "Master Callahan," said Mr. Tanaka, an elderly martial arts master seated quietly at the back. He rose slowly, spine straight despite his age, and walked onto the mat. The room parted for him like water around stone. He stopped in front of Emma, and bowed, deeply. Murmurs rippled through the audience. "Did he say Callahan?" Someone whispered. "Isn't that the founder's name?" asked another. A few heads turned toward the framed portrait near the entrance, the Academy's founder in a white GI. Kneeling in stillness beneath calligraphy that read, "Raise your discipline." The name engraved beneath the photo, David Callahan. Tyler took a step back, face pale. Coach Brittany looked lost. Then Kirkland, the Academy's director, approached with an uncomfortable smile. "Master Tanaka, I think there's been a misunderstanding. She's not even a ranked student." Tanaka didn't blink. "There's no mistake." He turned to the crowd. "That is Emma Callahan, daughter of Master David Callahan, former national champion, and the rightful owner of this academy." The words dropped like thunder. Gasps filled the room, short, sharp, disbelieving. Emma said nothing. She didn't need to. Then came another figure, a woman in a navy blouse, carrying a slim leather folder. She walked with purpose to the instructor's podium and opened the file in front of everyone. Inside, state-stamped deed of ownership, articles of incorporation, private transfer documents, all signed, all dated, all in the name Emma Callahan. She reacquired this academy through a registered trust over 3 years ago. The woman stated plainly, "Operations continued under your management, Mr. Kirkland, pending review." That review is now complete. Kirkland's jaw clenched. "This can't be. She never told me. She never said anything." One of the investors in the front row was already checking his email. The same documents had just arrived in his inbox. No one spoke. Emma stood. She walked past the podium without a glance and approached the framed motto that hung near the mirror. "Discipline first. Victory follows." She lifted it from the hook, carefully, without spite. Behind it, half covered in dust, was the original scroll. The real message. Do not raise your voice. Raise your discipline. She bowed. To the scroll. To the legacy. And to the truth. She didn't demand control. She had always held it. Silently. Until the moment mattered. Emma stood still, her fingertips brushing the edge of the faded scroll. The same one her father had hung decades ago. The ink had softened with time. But the message was unchanged. Do not raise your voice. Raise your discipline. It was more than a mantra. It was a mirror of her every step, every choice, every silence she had kept. She turned back to the room. The same one that had mocked her weeks before. But the laughter was gone now. So was the smugness. Instead, there was stillness. She walked to the podium, not with authority, but with intention. And beside it stood a woman most of them had overlooked too. Coach Mariah. Mariah had never chased attention. She corrected with care, watched her students closely, and never once turned her face toward a camera. She had been steady, honest, even when the dojo had drifted from its core. Emma looked her in the eye. It's yours now, she said quietly. Mariah didn't ask questions. She just nodded, like someone who had been ready for a long time. Emma stepped aside. She didn't announce changes, fire staff, or tear down what had been built. She didn't need to. Instead, she walked toward the framed corporate banner, the one that had replaced everything her father stood for. The gold-trimmed quote about victory. The branding that made martial arts feel like a marketing campaign. She didn't rip it. She didn't smash it. She simply removed it from the wall, set it on the ground, and let the weight of its silence say what no speech could. Then she walked to the altar by the wall where students placed their sandals before stepping onto the mat. Her pair waited there, simple, worn, just like everything else about her. But instead of slipping them on, she knelt and placed them neatly beside the altar. A gesture, not of submission, but of legacy. One final bow. Behind her, the room stayed still. Even Tyler, now wordless, stood frozen by the mirror, his reflection no longer so certain. Brittany had her arms crossed, but her eyes flicked downward. Kirkland stared at the deed on the podium like it was written in another language. And Emma? She didn't look back. She didn't have to, because the change had already happened, not through force, not through speeches, but through presence, through the quiet return of something the dojo had forgotten: honor. A rope pulled near the back wall. A fresh banner rose slowly into place. White canvas, hand-painted strokes, her father's original calligraphy restored. No one clapped. No one needed to. The scroll said enough. And so did her silence. The doors to Heritage Martial Arts Academy remained open as Emma stepped into the quiet hallway. The polished floor cooled beneath her bare feet. The air outside was still, dusk settling like a soft curtain over Centennial, Colorado. But inside, the energy had shifted completely. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't make a speech. She just walked, quiet, measured, and free. Behind her, the dojo held its breath. Some people were still seated, as if waiting for permission to move. Others stood with their arms crossed, eyes lowered, not in defiance, but in something closer to reflection. Even the investors, once chatty and sure, sat frozen in their chairs. The gleam of sponsorship badges suddenly less important. At the altar, her sandals sat folded beside a towel, the same towel Coach Brittany had tossed her just a week earlier like she was an extra. Not even worth a name. Emma didn't pick it up. She left it as a marker, a reminder, not of defiance, but of dignity. As she passed through the threshold, a small voice called out behind her. Wait. Emma turned. A little girl, no more than 10, ran up, clutching a water bottle with both hands. Her braid bounced with each step. Sneakers untied, she held the bottle out shyly. You forgot this, she said, voice soft. Will you come back? Emma smiled gently. Just once, she replied, her hand resting briefly on the girl's shoulder. After that, it's yours. And just like that, she turned and walked down the sidewalk, her assistant following silently beside her. No cameras, no applause, just footsteps, steady, bare, strong. Back inside, Coach Mariah stood alone on the mat for a moment before two students flanked her side. Another assistant pulled the rope, raising the scroll that had once been taken down. Do not raise your voice. Raise your discipline. It rose slowly, Like the dojo was finally breathing again. No one clapped. No one cheered. They simply watched. They watched because something had been restored. And for the first time, it didn't need branding or fanfare to feel real. As Emma disappeared into the settling evening, the silence she left behind wasn't heavy. It was sacred. She had been mocked, dismissed, treated like nothing in the very place her father built with honor. And she never once raised her voice, never demanded respect. She simply waited, observed, and acted when it mattered most. That's what made her unforgettable. She didn't reclaim power. She revealed it, quietly, clearly, completely. Because true strength, it doesn't announce itself. It moves when it's ready, and leaves a mark that no one can erase. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. If this story moved something in you, about worth, dignity, or quiet power, comment the word, stillness, below and let the world know you're one of the ones who see it. This was Emma's story. But maybe, it's a little bit of yours too. In a world that often equates loudness with leadership and spotlight with success, Emma's story offers something different, something deeper. She walked into a space where she was mocked, dismissed, and treated like she didn't belong. But she never raised her voice, never tried to prove her worth through force or ego. Instead, she let her stillness speak. Her quiet presence challenged the noise. Her calm exposed the chaos. And when the moment was right, she moved, not to reclaim a title, but to restore a legacy. Emma reminds us that true strength isn't about control or recognition. It's about knowing who you are, even when no one else does. It's about acting with dignity when you could choose anger. It's about making space for others, even when the room made none for you. We all have moments where we feel unseen, unheard, or underestimated, but Emma's story shows us that silence isn't weakness. It's preparation, it's focus, it's power waiting for the right time. So if this story touched something in you, if it reminded you of your own strength, your quiet resilience, or the importance of holding to your values, take a moment. Like the video, subscribe for more real stories that carry meaning, and comment the word stillness to let us know you're one of those people, the ones who don't need the spotlight to make an impact. Emma didn't walk away seeking applause. She left something greater behind. A shift, a memory, a reminder that sometimes, the most powerful person in the room is the one no one sees coming, until they do.